God is talking. Subscribe.
Welcome back, deep divers. Ready to tackle some seriously big questions today.
Always up for a challenge, especially when it comes to those existential ponderings.
This one comes straight from one of our listeners, grappling with some heavy stuff from God is Talking, episode 5.
Oh, that's a good one. What part resonated with them?
Well, they honed in on that whole feeling of, what's the point if life might be completely meaningless?
Yeah, I can see how that would resonate. It's a pretty universal feeling, right? Like, why bother with all the effort if it doesn't really amount to anything in the grand scheme of things?
Exactly. And the episode throws out this whole concept of multiple lifetimes, not just as a possibility, but almost like, hey, this isn't your first rodeo.
It's kind of refreshing, actually, how directly it presents that idea. No tiptoeing around the possibility.
Right. It's like, yep, you've been here before, chosen to come back, and you'll likely be back again. So that leads to the big question. If we're signing up for multiple rounds of life, what's the overall purpose? What's the soul's end game in all of this?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The episode seems to suggest that the soul isn't necessarily working towards a specific endpoint, but rather it's all about experiencing everything that exists.
So the good, the bad, the ugly, it's all part of some grand learning experience.
It seems that way. All those joys, sorrows, even the mundane stuff, it all contributes to a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in this big interconnected web of existence. And what I find fascinating is how the episode connects this back to the choices we make in each lifetime. Like it mentions the listener saying they don't just go around casually killing things anymore, and it presents that as a sign of soul growth.
Interesting. So even our evolving sense of morality, our actions, are reflections of this soul journey.
Exactly. It's like every choice we make, every experience we have shapes who we are, both in this life and beyond. Which naturally brings us to that part of the episode that delves into killing, particularly in the context of war and self-defense.
Yeah, that's a heavy one. Not exactly light dinner conversation.
Definitely not. But it's a conversation worth having. And I appreciate how the episode doesn't shy away from those difficult topics. It presents this idea of defending life, whether it's our own or another's, as aligning with our deepest values.
So it's not about glorifying violence, but recognizing that there's a difference between justified defense and using force as punishment or to settle arguments.
Precisely. It's about discerning when taking a stand against a threat is actually an act of honoring life itself. Remember that example about those historical duels over a woman's affection?
Oh yeah, talk about a misapplication of force.
Right. Those kinds of examples really highlight how far we've come in understanding the sanctity of life. It's less about reacting with violence and more about recognizing when action, even forceful action, is necessary to protect life.
It's interesting how the episode ties these big existential questions into something that so many of us grapple with on a daily basis, the whole money thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the listener specifically called that out, that feeling of being financially stuck.
Totally. And what I appreciate is how the episode just cuts right through that typical, you just need more self-worth explanation.
Right. Like that's not always the magic bullet.
So refreshing. So if it's not about digging deeper to uncover some hidden well of self-worth, what's the real issue when it comes to abundance? Spill the tea.
Well, the episode kind of throws us for a loop by saying that we often completely misunderstand what abundance even is. Like we're misinterpreting this whole good versus evil thing, especially when it comes to money.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Break that down for me.
So think about it. How often do we undervalue things we consider good, inherently good, just because we expect them to be cheap?
Yeah.
Like the episode talks about teachers, underpaid, often overworked. Yet we put entertainers, who might be making bank, on a pedestal. Or scientists struggling to get funding for groundbreaking research, while certain, let's just say self-help gurus, are raking it in.
Oof, yeah. The irony is strong with that one. And so relatable, too. I mean, who hasn't struggled financially even when they're pursuing work they believe is genuinely valuable?
Exactly. And it can feel like this impossible catch-22.
Mm-hmm.
And for the listener, the episode suggests there might be a couple of really specific, like ingrained thought patterns at play.
Okay, like what?
Primarily this conflict between money is bad and God is good.
Oh, wow.
Creates this kind of internal tug of war that can really block us from experiencing true abundance. And then there's that not enoughness thought that seems to be impacting more than just their finances. It's affecting how they view their resources and opportunities as a whole.
I'm feeling very seen and also slightly attacked. But seriously, if those thought patterns are so deeply ingrained, how do we even begin to shift them? I mean, I've tried the whole positive thinking thing, and let's just say my bank account hasn't exactly multiplied overnight.
Well, and that's where I think this episode gets really interesting and practical, because it challenges that traditional think before you act approach.
Right. How so?
It suggests we flip the script and act our way into new thinking.
Whoa, okay, that's a new one.
Right. So it's not about waiting for our thoughts to magically transform before we take action. It's about consciously choosing actions that align with the thoughts we want to cultivate.
Okay, so it's more about, like, embodying the change you want to see.
Exactly. And the episode uses this great example of running into someone asking for money on the street. You know, that initial impulse to be generous, it often gets clouded by all those thoughts swirling around. Can I really afford this? Or maybe I'll need this more later. And those thoughts, that hesitation, it actually prevents us from experiencing the fullness of what it means to be generous.
Ugh, that internal struggle is so real. Like, overthinking actually blocks us from taking action.
It really does. And that's where the conscious action comes in. It's about recognizing those ingrained thought patterns and making a deliberate choice to act differently, even if it feels a little uncomfortable at first. Taking small, consistent actions that actually start to reinforce the beliefs we want to embody.
So we're talking about, like, literally changing our reality through our actions.
On a fundamental level, yes.
Yeah.
Because our actions have a ripple effect. They don't just change our external circumstances, they change our internal state of being.
It's like we're talking about a whole new way of approaching, well, life, really. And it makes me think about that last question we got from our listener, the one about finding work that's both fulfilling, lights you up inside, and also, let's be real, pays the bills. Is that even possible, or is that just like magical thinking?
The age-old question, right. And this episode doesn't shy away from how tricky that can be. It actually suggests that we often get tripped up by prioritizing doing over being, which, let's be honest, can send us down a rabbit hole of seeking external validation instead of connecting with, like, true inner fulfillment.
That's so spot on. We get caught up in the doing, climbing the ladder, chasing the next promotion, that we forget to ask ourselves if any of it actually resonates with who we are, at our core. So how does the episode unpack this whole being versus doing thing? And how do we actually apply that to finding work that, we genuinely love?
Well, the episode suggests that our souls, like our deepest selves, they're wired for states of being: peace, joy, connection, a sense of purpose, all those good things. And those aren't things we just achieve by checking off external boxes. They come from a place of internal alignment. And when we're hyper-focused on the doing, on hitting those external markers of success, we can totally miss out on cultivating the internal landscape where that true fulfillment actually lives.
So it's not about finding the perfect job title or some magical salary figure. It's about shifting our energy and, like, our whole perspective about work.
Exactly. Because two people can have the same job and have wildly different experiences, right? It all depends on their state of being. Like, the episode gives the example of two people in the same field, same skill level. One is totally thriving, energized, fulfilled, loving it. The other one is struggling, resentful, completely burned out.
And the difference is?
It's not their talent or how hard they work. It's all about the energy they're bringing to the table. One is approaching their work with openness, gratitude, maybe even a little joy, while the other is, like, ruled by fear, scarcity, a feeling of lack. It's a completely different vibe.
It's that subtle yet powerful energetic difference that can make or break it, huh? Like recognizing that our internal state is just as important, if not more so, than our external actions.
Totally. And the episode suggests that when we actively cultivate those positive internal states, that joy, gratitude, love, it doesn't just make us feel better. It can actually attract more of those experiences that align with our, like, best selves. Our energy becomes magnetic.
So it's not about forcing ourselves to love a job that's totally wrong for us. It's about doing the inner work, shifting our energy to a place where work that feels joyful and fulfilling can actually find us.
You got it. And the episode leaves us with this powerful image, suggesting that our souls are always watching, waiting for us to start making choices that are in alignment with who we truly are.
Oh, I like that. So what will you choose to be, deep divers? Something to think about. And on that note, we're wrapping up another deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking out those nuggets of wisdom that resonate with your soul. We'll catch you in the next episode.
Eyes anoint you starlight, ฉันลอยจะจุดthe lights on